Hi guys, welcome back. It's Tall Paul here. In this video, I'm not giving a review of products and stuff, but I did want to kind of give you a review of my life and my struggle with weight loss and blood sugar issues and all that. This is going to probably be a very long video, but I want you to know the story behind me, Tall Paul, and that you and I have most likely walked along the same journey. And so I want you to know I've been there, and I'd like you to hear my story if and when you have time. Okay. So I am 6'7". One time I got on the scale, where how they measure you, and it had the old fashioned thing with, it goes up and down that they measure you with. And when the nurse had, lifted it up, it came out of the scale. And I said, "Well, how tall am I?" And she says, "I have no idea." And then not too long ago, I was measured at my regular doctor, and they measured me at 6'7.5". And so, am I still growing? I don't know. I'm 54 years old, and honestly, it's fun being tall. Everyone asks me, "Hey, how tall are you?" And I'm kind of like a celebrity. And the only time I ever see people my height, which is very, very, very rare, is for some reason in my area we have 3 Costcos. When I go to my Costco, for some reason, I'll see like one or two other people my height. And I can go a year without seeing someone my height. And so there's tall people where I live, I guess, and it's kind of funny to see that. But back to my weight story. So when I was a kid, I was always the tallest in my class, and I was not the most overweight kid in the class. I was the second most overweight kid, and I was always the second to last to be picked on the teams. Now, I was on every sport you can imagine: football, basketball, track. They had me do shot put and stuff like that. Volleyball. My best sport ever was the swimming. I was excellent. I always came in first. But if you think about it, because I'm so tall, my arm is, I have a longer reach than everyone else. So swimming was incredible. And I was on the swim team for years and years. But then my neighbor their family built a pool. And rather than be on the swim team at the club, we would go to his house, and that was the end of the swimming exercise. And that's really when the weight started to come on. And, as you get older and your body metabolism changes, so does the weight come on too. Well, I remember it was in college, because when I tell you my weight, you can't compare it to you. I'm not like at 6'7". I'm not on any real charts. There's not enough clinical data for people my height to know how much we're supposed to weigh, etc. Now they can calculate, well, if you're this many inches taller than the chart, then in theory you should be this. And then the other thing is some doctors, or most doctors, go by BMI. But now I hear that even BMI is considered controversial. And, honestly, to me, it's scary. Not scary, but it's like people are too concerned about these numbers instead of looking at their health and how they feel and, what's causing the weight. I remember my grandmother, she, had a very large stomach. And, but when she would eat, like literally for breakfast, she would have a half a grapefruit and a cup of coffee and maybe a piece of toast. Okay, so there's nothing bad about that. Her whole day would be completely, she ate very well, not a lot, but every night she'd have the ice cream. And I grew up around ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. And what kid wouldn't want to have ice cream? Her addiction was so bad that we would go every single day to 31 Flavors or Baskin Robbins, and each kid could get their own pint. Okay, well, what kid wouldn't want a pint? And then for 1 or 2 years, we would go and we would get what's called a triple treat. So that's 3 scoops of ice cream, 3 toppings, whipped cream and a cherry and nuts and all that every single day. And so while I was on every sport, and that's how I was burning calories and stuff, how long do you think you can have a triple treat every single day without gaining weight? Okay, so I'm not blaming her or my family or anything, but I was raised in a culture of food was absolutely a reward for being a quote unquote good boy. We were rewarded by food. The other thing is that our family ran the snack bars for the Little League. And we were completely surrounded by junk food during the baseball season, and that was something that we ate. We had unlimited drinks, from the soda fountain, and we would drink the sodas because we were not monitored. This is just kids running the snack bar, and there were no real adults around. It was kids running this, and so it's just what happened. So I had habits. I grew, when we ate food with the family, the food was always wholesome, real food, meat and potatoes type stuff. But surrounding the meal were all these rewards. Like my grandfather would pick us up from school, and because he wanted to treat us and he loved us, quote unquote, we would go to Pizza Pete and get some pizza, or we go to Taco Treat and get tacos, or we would go to, we had all these little food stops, and we'd get a treat, and then we'd stop at 31 Flavors to pick up the daily ice cream, and then we'd go home, and we'd already eaten like a full meal right after school, and then we'd go home and have dinner, and then at night we'd have the ice cream. And it's just like, I look back and it's like, well, no wonder, duh, And I think when I was a freshman in college, I was, I'm 6'7". I believe I was 323 pounds. But when you're so tall, you can hide it pretty well, If I had taken that 323 and cut off a foot, if I was 5'7", I would be around. Get it? But when you have a whole foot on top of everyone, you can hide things very well. So I started to, in college we had all you can eat cafeteria, and it was excellent food. And anyway, it wasn't until I don't know when, at some point, I wanted to lose weight, and I can't remember if the doctor said it was time to lose weight or whatever, but I started the OptiFast program. It was a medical program through my insurance, which was Kaiser at the time. Kaiser is a insurance company in California. It might be elsewhere in the country, I don't know. But they had a whole clinic that they had people who were obese on it, and this OptiFast, I think that was the same product that Oprah had taken, and probably many of you took. And I was on it for 6 months. I lost over 100 pounds. Not one thing, not even a piece of gum passed my mouth other than that drink. And I think the drink, from what I recall, because this was a long, long time ago, probably, well, I'm 54, and this was after college. So anyway, a long time ago. Not one thing passed my lip other than this drink, and I think it had 375 calories. I think that was a day. I don't really remember. But I lost well over 100 pounds, and I had gotten so thin that people were like, Paul, you don't look well. You're, like, it's great that you've lost weight, and according to the chart, because there's no real chart for my height, but they kind of try to calculate it. The feedback from the world was, you're too thin. All right. So I don't know if that's programming, like you need to gain more weight or whatever. It doesn't matter. But I agreed with them. I did not, while it was wonderful to be able to shop off the cart, off the rack at any store I went into, although because I'm so tall, even if I go to like a tall store, my sleeves are never long enough. Because a lot of these big and tall stores, they're big, but they're not tall. And so I've always struggled with, buying the right type of clothes off the rack. But anyway, at that point, I could go into any store and buy a shirt that fit, short sleeve. I could buy pants off the rack. And that's a great feeling. And if you're watching this, you know what I'm talking about, where you can't just go to any store and buy off the rack. And so that was a good feeling. Okay, so but then within 1 week after trying real food, because this was a liquid diet for 6 months, 6 months of just liquid diet, within 1 week, I had a gallbladder attack. And it was a whopper. And I went to the emergency room and they said, well, you have gallstones. And they said, if you have it again, come back. So that was on a Monday. On Wednesday, I had another attack and went back to the emergency room like they told me to. And they said, because you've had it so many times, twice in 1 week, and you're only 28 years old, then you're going to, we have to remove your gallbladder because you're going to have it for the rest of your life. And gallstones are caused by this yo-yo dieting, and especially that product, because it was a protein drink, and that proteins, I believe, crystallize in your body, and that causes gallstones and maybe kidney stones. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing my story. So I had the gallbladder out, and I'm telling you, I didn't know how sick I was until I got it out. And once I got it out, I was starting to feel really good. I'm glad I got that gallstone, the gallbladder out, because I was not feeling well for a long time. All right. So then, now I'm off the liquid diet. I started to gain the weight back immediately, like real quickly. So that's not a solution. So then I went on Jenny Craig. I love Jenny Craig. The food was absolutely delicious. I loved going into the meetings, and, the program was great. But there was one day, I remember, it was just like I took one bite of the food I had been eating for however long it was, and I lost, I think, 85 pounds or something on Jenny Craig. And but I remember tasting it, and it was like a repulsion in my body. I had a physical reaction to the food that I had already been eating. Like I couldn't take one more bite. And this continued, and it was not a psychological thing. It was my body. I don't know if it was ingredients that were in there, but I could not continue Jenny Craig, so I got off of it. So what happened? Whoop, went right back up. You've been there, you guys. You know what I'm talking about. Every diet works, but you have to be on something that you can maintain long term. So you can't say I didn't have willpower. Because I was not one thing past my lips on that liquid diet for 6 months, not even a piece of gum. So I have willpower, all right? And then Jenny Craig, I followed their program to a T. I lost the weight like they said I would. But there was something about the food, I don't know if, an ingredient or whatever, my body rejected it. And I got off of Jenny Craig. I tried their principles. And I'm going to share one principle I still remember, and I agree with it so much. But I had to stop Jenny Craig. One thing that Jenny taught was, if you think about, nature provides us food in its natural form. And she says, think about a glass of grape juice. And what we do is we squeeze the grapes and we put it in the glass, and all the fibers thrown away. And she says, if it is absolutely impossible for you to eat that as many grapes as it takes to make a glass of juice. I'm like, absolutely, that makes so much sense. So she says, if you're going to have the fruit, eat it with the fiber, which is the way nature intended it. Fiber is critical and so important for people to have good health. So if you're a juicer, that's great. I've done that too. I've been a raw foodist. I've done all this stuff. But if you're going to be juicing, go ahead and juice it to get the juice out of the fiber, but put that fiber back in and drink it with the fiber. Okay? That's my advice. Again, I'm not a doctor, but that fiber is so important. So yeah, raw foodist. I was a raw foodist for months. I think 9 months, maybe even a whole year. And I followed it to a T, and I loved it. And, I certainly lost weight on it, but I bruised my whole arms, my legs. I would bruise so easily. I think I wasn't getting enough iron. And so while I felt good, my body was showing me, no, you can't do this. Your blood system, or there's something about the raw food diet and juicing, because I was juicing too, that my body was bleeding internally. All right, so I had to stop that. And I don't even know what else I've been on. I've done everything that you've done. Okay, every single diet that you've done, I've done. I'm 54 years old. And what happened was in March of 2016, let's say a little bit before this, to share my family history is on every single side of my family. So every person has 4 grandparents. So every single branch, all 4 of those grandparents in their lineage, there are people that had type 2 diabetes. And my grandfather, 10 years before he died, he had diabetes since I was in 5th grade. And as a family, we went to the dietitian classes and we learned all about, food and carbs and all this stuff. And so I remember this being very impactful and how important it is as a diabetic to follow their diet. Now, my grandfather, he learned all that stuff, and we know the stuff in our head, people who are diabetic, and every person who's been on a diet, we know about calories, we know about exercise, we know about this, we know about that. We know it probably more than the doctors, right? Okay? So my grandfather, he had gone through the same class that I had when I was in 5th grade, but he was a junk food junkie. He had developed habits over a lifetime that contributed to his diabetes, type 2 diabetes. And he would eat the whole bag of Doritos and the jar of peanuts and the 6-pack of beer and all the carbs. He did everything he wasn't supposed to do. And when I was in 8th grade, so 3 years later after he was diagnosed, he was out on a vacation and he was in the hot tub, and he gets out of the hot tub and he's walking on the hot cement, and the bottom of his feet were burned off. The skin had come off, and the one leg, the right leg, the left leg healed, the bottom of the foot, but the right leg did not. And he spent months and months in and out of the hospital trying to control the infection. And we had the wound care nurse come all the time, and we would change the dressings. And this was like a year's worth of trying to get that right foot to heal. And if you know a diabetic, or if you're a diabetic, you know what I'm talking about. And what did they have to do? First, they had to take one toe and then another toe. And then eventually they just took it to below the knee. He lost his leg because of his diabetes. And honestly, it's not the diabetes. It was his junk food consumption. And so I've witnessed this since a child. And, it was not easy for him. And I know what it is, not personally, but to witness what a diabetic goes through when they don't take care of themselves. So that's my father's side. On my mother's side, my mother's oldest sister, she was on, when they do for the kidneys, dialysis. She was on dialysis for years. And, it's like 3 hours out of your day, you have to be in the blood clinic getting your blood cleaned because your kidneys are damaged because of the diabetes. And it's all food related. It can all be controlled via food. All right. So then, when I was a senior in college, my grandfather had gotten sick again, and he started to have renal failure, which is kidney failure, and he started to have congestive heart failure, where it's all due to diabetes. It's related to food. Over time, your body declines because the sugar is destroying your cardiovascular system and all the different systems within our bodies. So when I was a senior in college, it was January. He went into the hospital, and he literally in April, his heart stopped because of the congestive heart failure, but they were able to bring him back, and he was in intensive care. And by the time it was June, he was in the hospital from January until June when I graduated. And it's like, what kind of a life is that? It's just horrible. So I just decided to take him home. I took care of him from our home, and he was on dialysis 3 days a week. Remember, he had one leg amputated, so I literally had to carry him. He couldn't walk. He was so weak. And eventually, in September of that year, he had to go back into the hospital. And in November, 6 days before he died, I think it was either 6 or 9 days, 6 days, because he died on the 9th of November. 6 days before he died, they amputated his second leg. Okay. So when I witnessed this, I'm like, I cannot ever go through I'm not strong enough. Now, he never gave up. He tried, but it was a long and slow 10-year death. 10 years of struggling and 10 years of just not, life is for living. Okay. So I don't want to get to the point where I have to go through that, because I don't think I'll make it. You know what I mean? So when I go to the doctor every year, I ask him, how's the blood sugar? How's the blood sugar? How's the blood sugar? And every year he's like, it's fine. And I'm like, oh, thank you, Lord. But it's like, why am I thanking God? It's like I was playing with fire, because the whole time my food, and now I don't want to say I didn't know better, but because I did know better. But honestly, when I examined my food as an adult, I was not eating ice cream. I was not eating certain things, you know what I mean? Like all that bad stuff. But I didn't know about carbs well enough. I didn't know about insulin resistance. I didn't know about pre-diabetes and all of that. Okay. So, March of 2016, I went in for my regular yearly checkup. I only go once a year. And he says, you always ask about your blood sugar. You came in at a 6.4 A1C. And he says 6.5 is diabetic. He says, so technically you're pre-diabetic. And he says, if you can't get this under control on your own, he says, I need you to come back in 3 months and we'll do another A1C. But if you cannot do this on your own, we're going to have to put you on medication. I said, that's enough for me, because I knew my whole life it was coming. I just didn't know when. Now, my brother and my cousin had both lost a ton of weight on this, what's called LCHF, low carb, high fat diet. And my brother says, go to dietdoctor.com/diabetes. Now, I wasn't diabetic yet, but I'm like, I don't want to be a diabetic. So I went and I listened to every video. I read every article. And I'm like, I'm starting this immediately. And I think I watched it all in one day, if not 2 days. And I'm like, this is it. I'm going to do it, because it made total sense. And the premise is on their website is that even the American Diabetic Association, whatever the association is, they're saying that, yeah, a diabetic can have all these carbs, a certain number of carbs. And, but what they're doing is they're with the assumption that you're going to be put on medication for your type 2 diabetes. Well, I don't want to be on medication. So they said, and they educate you about insulin resistance and all this stuff. Another key thing that they talk about, and Dr. Jason Fung is incredible. If you look him up on YouTube, Fung, Jason Fung, he talks about intermittent fasting and how important that is to control your blood sugar, your weight, and to be successful on a low carb, high fat diet, which is similar to keto. All right, so I got on board. I followed it completely to the T, and in 3 months, I went from a 6.4 A1C all the way down to, I believe, 4.7. Now, up above, I have a link to my 4-year A1C results. And I show you the exact results from that 3-month point all the way till just a couple of months ago in June of 2020, what this low LCHF keto program has done for me and my blood sugar. That has always been my primary reason to be on keto, is to control the blood sugar. Now, of course, when you're heavy and you're overweight, and there's one part I forgot to tell you about, but when you're overweight, yeah, you have to lose weight. But I can't have my legs amputated. I need my legs. So the blood sugar for me was primary. All right, so before this, in 2000, I think I've shared with you that I have a seizure disorder. If it wasn't in this video, it was in another video. And I have these seizures. I haven't had one in many, many years because it's controlled by medication. But at one point I had a seizure. I was not on medication at the time. And the doctor puts me on a drug and he says, you will gain weight and you might lose your hair. In 6 months, now I think this was back in 1999 or 2000. In 6 months from this medication, I gained 60 pounds. And it was the first time ever in my life that I could feel the effects of the weight. Because I told you before, I'd always been on sports. I was active and, I was healthy, basically. But to gain 60 pounds in 6 months, no one's prepared for that. No one. Okay. And I was breathing hard and it was just really, really bad. And I went in and I said, what am I going to do? This is talking to my neurologist. And he says, well, you're a good candidate for gastric bypass. And so I'm like, well, I guess I have to do that because I was desperate. Because I'd been on all the other programs. I couldn't go back to Jenny Craig, even though I loved it. I did, I tried everything. So I did. I had the Roux-en-Y gastric bypass in 2001, and it was an incredible encounter for me. I had lost permanently 100 pounds. So my highest weight ever, and I can't believe I'm sharing this, but I might as well. My highest weight ever, and remember, 60 pounds of this was because of a medication, was 418 pounds. And I've been able to keep it off since 2001. Well, I went way down and then I gained the weight back, just like we do on every diet. So gastric bypass is not at all a real solution. It's helpful, okay, but it's not like a cure-all at all, okay? So I, in my mind, my weight that I should be, and my doctor, they don't really know. We don't know. But let's say 250 pounds is my, the good goal weight. Okay. Now on the OptiFast, I think I went down to 238 pounds, and everyone's like, oh, you look horrible. Even the doctors, they wanted me to eat more, and that's when I lost my gallbladder. Anyway, so 238 was as an adult, my lowest weight. and that was too much. So really about 250. And on the gastric bypass, I did get back down to 250, but then I went up, up, up again, and I had stabilized around 332 pounds. That was my gastric bypass stabilized plateau, basically. And so when my blood sugar was checked in March of 2016, that's what my weight was, 332. Okay. And when I started this LCHF diet, the keto diet, within 3 months, I had lost a certain amount of weight. Now, again, my story is not about weight. It's about blood sugar. So I can't quote weights for you, so I don't remember what my weight was. I could probably ask my doctor what was my weight in June of 2016. It's probably on my phone because now we have those apps where you can track your results, from the doctor. And I could probably look that up. But anyway, so 4 years later, here we are in 2020. And, I've shared my story about cheating. I've been on keto the whole time. I cleaned my house out. But then I started to take food to my friend because of COVID. He couldn't leave his house because of his fragile medical history. And I stopped and would eat Jack in the Box tacos because I was taking them to him. And then I would stop and get a Frosty cone. And then I would, eventually we went to Krispy Kreme, and it's just, horrible. And I felt so bad. I was like, oh, why did I eat this? And you've been there, you guys. You've eaten these carbs, and then you have to run to the bed to sleep because our bodies can't process them. This is the insulin resistance. And I'm telling you, in 4.5 years of being on keto, I have never once ever been sick from any food that I have eaten on keto. I have never needed to take a nap unless I cheated. Okay? So, when I started, as you know, on my channel, I've been doing this Active 8 keto this product by Clarity, and it was a review because they sent me some product to try, and for 15 days, I'm still on it right now. This is day 10. I, in 9 days, I believe, lost 11 pounds, or was it 8 days I lost 11 pounds. I haven't weighed myself yet for this next day. So, it was 8 days, 11 pounds. And what has changed, because I'm back on keto, I'm not cheating anymore with donuts or anything. That's been a couple months since I've done that. But I plateaued, and I started at 332 was what I weighed back in whenever that was. When I started this program, I was 304 pounds. And since I've started the Activate Keto, I've now lost 11 pounds from that 304. And the only thing that's different is that drink. So this is great. So what I wanted to say is that, people have started to comment in the comments below. They've started to email me and share their story and saying, I love hearing your stories because I've done that. I've been the guy or the gal going through the donut shop. And, I remember years ago, I would go through McDonald's and I'd order 2 drinks to make it look like I was ordering for 2 people. Is that crazy or what? But there's people here who have done it, right? Because you're ashamed to let people know that you've ordered so much food. It's embarrassing. Okay. Well, I'm beyond all of that. That was years ago that I would try to hide my food, and I'm not trying to hide my food anymore. The keto, you're not hungry. It takes away your cravings, and it's a program I've been able to follow. It's the only one ever I've been able to follow long term. I think 4.5 years is long term. And the only thing that got me out of it was this darn COVID and getting out of a routine that, I was back in this old mindset as a child. I need to reward myself. Oh, I'm doing a good thing. I'm taking food to a friend. Oh, there's a Jack in a Box, and he won a Jack in a Box, so I'll reward myself. Food is not a reward. Health is a reward. Those A1C blood results, that's a reward. The weight loss, that's a reward. Not food. Food is not a reward. Now, you can reward yourself with food. If you go to Instagram or Google and you search in keto recipes, there are millions and millions of recipes that you can go to and cook incredible food. And there's all these desserts and incredible things that you can reward yourself with if you're going to do some work. Now, I'm a good cook, but I live alone and I don't want to do dishes and all that stuff. So if I'm going to reward myself, what I reward myself with now are these, what I call keto snacks. So these corporate products that are made that are grab and go, easy to have on hand, that you don't have to cook or do dishes. They're not going to ruin your blood sugar. They're not going to make you gain weight unless you abuse them, like if you abuse any food. So I always keep a sugary snack on hand and I keep a salty snack on hand. And I only have it once. It's not like I'm going to live on these snacks. This is not what this channel is about. I'm just sharing you with snacks that I'm discovering. And if you're a keto product company and you want me to try your keto snacks or products, go ahead and email me at tallpaul@ketosnackguy.com. And I'd love to try them. And I'd love to share how they're helping me. And I'd love to share with my viewers how it could help them. But I'm going to be honest about it. And like certain products like Quest and Atkins, and they have incredible products. They are delicious. But on one of my reviews recently, it was for the chocolate brownie bar for Quest. Like I've tried 3 different chocolate flavors. The ones I don't have a review yet for the channel, but the Rocky Road is it's absolutely my favorite Quest keto bar. I don't have the review, but I will do a review. And then there's the chocolate caramel bar. And then they have a chocolate brownie bar. Now they're all chocolate, but one of them has to be better than the other. You know what I'm saying? But they're all excellent. Every single one of them are excellent. But my favorite's the Rocky Road. Go try it. Okay. So I'm going to be honest with these companies and say, look, I really, I'm trying the fudge brownie, or the brownie bar, but, like, I like the Rocky Road better. I'm not saying it's bad. So I'm going to give criticism, but it's not always going to be bad, right? Like on my Activate Keto review, I've said that, like the one day I had the keto flu and keto fog. Is that the product's fault? No, I'm just being honest with my viewers and saying, I've tried this product and I've had the keto flu and keto fog in one day, but that's actually a benefit of the product because I know it has kicked me up into a higher level of ketosis. I need the keto fog. I need the keto flu as a measure of my progress to kick me into a higher state of burning fat. And you can't see me because I'm sitting down, but I will have pictures at the end of the review, not this video, but the end of my Activate Keto review, the before and after pictures that will show that I am much trimmer and that, we'll have the final number of weight loss, whatever that is. So, there are products that can help us to get through these plateaus, products that can help us to not cheat on the bad carbs. So the salt, the salty snacks, like my mukbangs, if you check my mukbangs for the pork rinds. And then I have other mukbangs I'll leave up above for my chip and dip. So like the garlic chili uh, dip with the celery, delicious. Okay, so I know this has been a really, really, really long video, but I wanted you to get to know who I am and my weight loss journey, which I'm sure is identical to yours. You've been on every diet. You have willpower. You, what it is, what we've been struggling with all these years and didn't know it, is insulin resistance. Is as because I believe all the chemicals in our food, and we've just abused our bodies so long, not for our own fault, but because of the way our society promotes certain things and the ingredients that we have in products, that our bodies have become resistant to insulin, which is the hormone that helps us to process the carbs. And we hold on to the fat, and we just keep storing fat, and that's why we are where we're at. Okay, so now while a lot of my weight, 60 pounds of it, was because of a medication, and that's the truth. It was the medication. I can't blame it all on the medication. I certainly played a part in it. I mean, I'm the one, even recently, who cheated and went to Krispy Kreme, and you got to listen to that story. I don't know where it is. I don't think that's on a playlist or anything, but I've talked about it in several videos. I'm the one who cheated. I'm not going to blame anyone else but me. And you've been there too. But this is the message, you guys. You have to be gentle with yourself. You're a good person. Don't blame yourself, and don't listen to anyone else who's going to tell you anyone differently. My grandfather would, when I was in 6th grade, would say, "Look at your ass. You're a fat ass." And here I am, 54 years old, and I remember him calling me a fat ass in 6th grade. Yeah, okay, you know what I said to him? Not verbally, but internally I said, "Oh yeah? Well, I'm going to eat anything I want, and I'll prove it to you. I'll show you who's a fat ass." Yep. And I would eat on purpose to, I don't know what I was thinking, punish him. Who was going to win the war? Was it going to be him or me? I'm going to do what I want because I'm a Leo. Leos are the leader. We're independent. We're stubborn, and we want to control our own life. We don't want to be controlled. And so I would eat out of revenge. And fortunately, that's all long gone. And it's like, oh yeah, we have to live with we punish ourselves. So if you're eating out of shame, if you're eating out of guilt, if you're eating out of low self-esteem or low self-confidence, if you're eating because someone tells you you're fat, or if you're eating because you don't love yourself, that please just know you're not loved. You're profoundly loved. I love you, and the people here in our channel, I want to build a community where we can live and be together and support one another, and know that we have self-will. We have, we're able to do this. But now we finally found a program that we need to, that can help us achieve our goals long term. And, my blood work proves it. My cholesterol's better. My A1C is better. I never, ever, ever, ever feel sick after eating a keto product. Even these keto snacks, I don't feel sick. Okay, so it's not processed foods. It's the fat and protein to carbohydrate ratios that we're talking about, where the insulin no longer is causing us to store so much fat, and that we are using ketones instead. We're burning fat to make ketones so that our body can have the energy. All right. So I've said a lot here, but hopefully you can relate to it. And I just want you to know, I want to be here for you, and I want you to share your stories, and leave your comments down below. Or if if it's too personal, you can email me at tallpaul@ketosnackguy.com. And I'd love to get to know you, and we'll just see how it goes. But if you haven't tried keto and if you've listened this long, try it. Go to dietdoctor.com/diabetes and read all about it. Listen to all the videos. And if you're a cook, use their recipes. Go on Instagram and look at all the different keto hashtags and all the beautiful food that you can eat. It's very inspirational, all right? So that's about it. That's what I want to share for today. I try to be very honest, and hopefully you know that. And hopefully it can help inspire you to join me on this journey. All right? So if you can you please subscribe and click the notification bell, and then go ahead and click share and share it to your Facebook, share it to Instagram, share it to Twitter and to Pinterest and wherever else you want to share, to Reddit. Because it's time. It's time. We can't go on any longer. I can't have my legs amputated. I'm nowhere even near diabetic now. I went from 6.4 and now I've stabilized, 5 point, whatever it is, 5.5, 5.4, which is totally in the normal range for blood sugar. I don't have to worry anymore. All I have to do is stick to my program. And if I need tools like snacks, if I need tools like Active 8 or other products like other supplements to help me stay in ketosis or to break through and to get through those plateaus, then that's what I need to do. All right. But I absolutely do not need to go back to eating the carbs. The carbs are poison for me. All right. So if you haven't done this yet, go to your doctor, get your blood work done, have an honest and frank conversation with your doctor, and tell them that you need support and that you're thinking of keto, and see what they find out. Okay. My doctor, after 1 year, so after 3 months, he was like, whoa, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. All right. So after 1 full year, so in March of 2016, he says, you need to change your diet. And I did. March of 2017, he says, congratulations, you have cured your metabolic issues. Cured. Doctors do not say that. And here I am 4 years later. I am still cured. But it is keto. I am still on keto. And I cannot stray from that. And this channel is keeping me honest. And if you need a channel to keep you honest, start one today. Just turn on your camera. You can do it from your phone. You don't need any special equipment. Turn on your camera and share your story and tell the world that you need support. And I want to be helpful to you. I want to help be supportive to you. Okay? So I love you. You're profoundly loved. Don't let anyone take that away from you. All right? We'll see you next time. Take care.